yeah, things had gotten pretty bad. The emergency room took one look at him, and they admitted him into the hospital. Did a bunch of tests, and a while later they found out that he had congestive heart failure. There's three things, I can't remember the third, but the second one was an infection that had spread out throughout his entire body. And it had attacked his mitral valve of his heart. So he had to have a mitral valve transplant from a cow. He was essentially in the hospital for about 2 months. He missed Thanksgiving, he missed Christmas, he missed New Year's. He almost missed his own birthday, but he lived. Since that time, he has been back to the hospital 3 more times because his medication runs out and he didn't get a refill. Why? Why would somebody do that to themselves? And though this happened in my life recently, a little over a year and a half ago, and going on a year ago at this moment, he was in the hospital, this is not a new story. Does anybody here have any situations where they know somebody that has essentially let themselves go to the point of illness and muscle or body degradation? One person? A couple? Yeah. Most people know people like this. And though it didn't happen directly to me and my family when I was younger, from my early teens, tweens even, I started seeing how people were getting really sick and being unwell and diabetes and being in wheelchairs. And I would talk to them and find out why. And essentially, they were killing themselves slowly. They were eating too much, doing too little, eating the wrong kinds of foods, whatever. You guys know all of the different things that you need to do to stay healthy. And I don't know why. If it's lack of education, if it was lack of will, what's the reason? Now, this is not my uncle, but I imagine my uncle spent half his 2 months of the last 10 years in the hospital. Because he lives alone, he's never been married, he's been morbidly obese for at least the last 20 years. When he went into the hospital, he weighed 450 or so. He came out quite a bit thinner because they were feeding him what he should be eating. He wasn't getting a lot of exercise, walking up and down the hallways a few times. But he weighed a lot less, and he looked pretty good when I saw him. Except he still didn't change his lifestyle. He still didn't watch what he ate. He has never exercised a day in his life. He eats like it's going out of style. He doesn't really cook much. He likes to go out back. Outback restaurant is his favorite place. He goes there probably, I don't know, 7 nights a week, but certainly 6. He knows all the staff like their family. So he eats like he's trying to kill himself. The things he eats too. I mean, if you sat there and had a meal with him, you'd say, "You trying to kill yourself?" You would really think that. No kidding. So people like my Uncle Mike put a bug in my head. Before I go on, I want to give you my brief bio. Joel did a pretty good job. I'm going to do just my official bio while I have it here. I am currently a college instructor. I teach at PCC Cascade, University of Phoenix. I taught some classes here at Clark College, at PSU, at a community college down in Los Angeles. I'm currently a personal trainer at the MAC, Multnomah Athletic Club, and I also do private training in-home, outdoors, things like that. I was initially certified with ISSA, International Sports Sciences Association, but then I worked for a company who didn't recognize them, even though they're far superior. ACE, maybe not far superior, but this was a more in-depth certification. But now I'm just certified with ACE. I really like ACE. I don't mean to disparage them by saying ISSA was better. ISSA was newer and less refined. ACE has a really good program. They're just not quite as in-depth for their personal training cert. Right now, my primary focus is on entrepreneurship. I started a company back in the summer. This company has come and gone, and I would start it and it would sort of fade away, time constraints and all that. I didn't really have my priorities in it. It's called LiveFit, and it's an online weight management health improvement program. I've been doing a in-person weight management health improvement program at the MAC for the past 5 years. My LiftFit program has been both online and in person from about that same length of time. But like I said, it never really got going. But now I'm putting more effort into it because I've decided that this is going to be my main focus. And the experience that I've gathered in my lifetime has really pointed directly, funneled down to this one thing. I'm going to go over my experience, what I've learned, and where I picked up that experience. And it was not until recently, in fact, I was doing my first podcast episode where I gave a bio of myself and wanted to tell my listeners why I'm able to give this podcast, what makes me an authority, and what type of show I'm going to give and what they can learn from it, when I realized that I am uniquely qualified to do this based on my experience. I took a path of education, both formal and informal, and it led me to right here where I am today. Had I known what I was going to do, I would have chosen the same path. However, the funny thing is, I didn't know exactly what my calling was. Probably 4 or 5 years ago I did, but I didn't know exactly what my calling was until all these pieces of the puzzle kind of came together. Education-wise, formal education-wise, I have a master's in kinesiology, a bachelor's in journalism, a minor in psychology, and recording arts. And yes, I use all of those skills. Not so much as a personal trainer, but when you own your own business, you do everything. You're a jack of all trades. With personal training, I tell you, that psychology, though it was only a minor, has come in very, very handy. I used to do in-home personal training. I owned my own business down there, too, for training. And psychology was really important down in Los Angeles. You wouldn't believe how many people use their personal trainer as a shrink. Here, I think one client ever in the past 8 years has really used me as a shrink, and only very minorly. But in LA, 9 out of 10 people. LA is a crazy place. So the things I have learned in my path to get to where I am are, well, how to be a good student. I didn't start out as a good student, but I learned how to be one. And one thing that did, being in your place over there, is it allows me to put myself in your shoes a lot better. And that mostly comes in with my teaching trade, but also certainly with personal training and the other things I do. It's hard to teach if you don't know what it's like on the other end. Certainly there's not very many teachers who haven't been there, but nonetheless, when I was there, I was thinking about being here at the same time. I learned discipline, organization, teamwork, work ethic, how to follow instructions. Believe it or not, that's not as easy as you might think. One of the biggest problems I have in everything I do is people not following instructions. Once we get that done, they work a lot better. And as far as being a student goes, knowing how to follow instructions of an assignment will make everything else so much easier. Then you can focus on the assignment. I learned mental and physical endurance and tolerance to discomfort. Part of that comes with age, but I'll explain where that really came from and why it's valuable. I also learned that failure is part of your education. Fall forward. It's okay to fail. My dad told me years ago that it's okay to make a mistake once, as long as you learn from it. Some people make mistakes more than once. If you learn from it, all the better. You can make your own future. You are totally, completely responsible. Maybe you could argue and give me reasons why you're not totally in charge of your own future, but I'll bet you there's some things that you can do to tweak it. Now, especially being in America, we have wide open, most people do. So you are in charge of your own future. Make of it what you will. One thing that a boundary that I had to cross was when I was younger, I was incredibly short-sighted. I couldn't see myself even being 20 years old. And I just sort of drifted along, being bounced along like a pinball on a pinball machine. And I finally figured out that, hey, I can make my own future. I can do what I want. more than any of the others. It's that one right there. I learned that bike racing for one. Been riding a bike for 20 hours. Feel like you're going to die. All you want to do is get off the bike. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I did it. Just keep going. Okay, I'll quit in a mile. I'll go one more mile, then I'll quit. Okay, I can do one more mile, then I'll quit. One more lap. Okay, then I'll quit. And I never did. And tenacity is incredibly valuable. I also learned study skills. That came when I entered college. Not before. Critical thinking, critical reading, good listening skills. How many of you's mind are wandering right now? Thinking about what you have for lunch, what you're going to have for dinner? Even though you're making eye contact.
I'm here.
Physically here, your mind might be thinking of other things. I also learned different writing styles. I was a journalist, so I learned how to write for newspaper. I learned how to write for magazines. I learned essay writing, of course. And a little bit of like literature writing. Not to say I'm a great writer, but compared to how I was, much better. In fact, in the 6th grade, I was reading at about a 2nd grade reading level. So I went to school during the time when they just moved people on for... I wasn't so bad that they had to hold me back, but I squeaked by. That's why I say I didn't learn study skills until I got to college. I also learned the value of good health and how to get it. When I was young, like right around the tween age, there was kind of a spell of time, maybe in 1 month, where these old guys met me. I don't know if they were friends of my mom's or grandma's or whatever, but they get right in my face and say, "Don't get old." They're marveling at my youth. You know, old people like to marvel at youth, right? And they start recalling when they were young. Well, they got right in my face and said, "Don't get old. Getting old is hell. My back hurts, my knees hurt, dizzy all the time," whatever it was. And so I'm looking at them going, hey, I want to get old. I want to be 16 and drive a car. You're 12. My kids, they're 7 and 9 or 8, and all they want to do is get older so they can have more freedoms. You know, understand the responsibility that comes with it. But what I found, what I discovered, pretty much when I was a teenager, was that you can retard aging. You can't stop it. There's no fountain of youth other than exercise and clean living, good eating. It is about as close to a fountain of youth as you can get. I'm not going to go into all the details of good health. I think we have a pretty good idea of them. But just know this. You are going to age. A year from now, you're going to be a year older. Are you going to be a year better? Are you going to be the same? I saw a picture recently of 2 twin sisters. One smoked, one didn't. Huge difference in their appearance. Huge. One looked like the mother. I learned public speaking. I first learned that in college. I took a speech class. Did not want to take that class. It was one of the most difficult classes I took, but also one of the most valuable. The other class that I remember as being valuable was typing. How many of you hunt and peck when you type? Just one of you? So all the rest of you can type without looking? I learned audio and video editing, and most important, you have to walk the talk. How many of you would hire a personal trainer that was overweight, out of shape, scruffy looking? When I first started working at the Mac, we had one that would belly out here. And I was in charge of divvying up clients to the different trainers. I can't tell you how many times somebody told me they don't want that guy. I said, well, don't blame him. So I told you, it took me a while to find my thing. I didn't really know what my thing was